People say you can't hide a pregnancy for 9 months. They also say a mother always knows. I proved them wrong, on both counts. I wasn't ready for a child. Not mentally, not emotionally, definitely not physically. And when I first missed my period, I didn't think twice. I had always been irregular. Always. It wasn't until the 3rd month that I realized something was off. But even then, I was deep in denial. I was 23, living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Prague, balancing a full-time job as a receptionist and a part-time online course in digital marketing. My boyfriend, well, ex, had ghosted me weeks before the symptoms began. A baby. That wasn't just inconvenient. It was catastrophic. And yet, every morning, I looked in the mirror and told myself, "You're not pregnant, you're just tired, just bloated, just stressed." The mirror lied to me, or maybe I lied to myself. It was around the 4th month that my body began whispering the truth. My stomach felt harder, firmer than usual, but there was no dramatic bump, no glowing skin, or cravings like in the movies. I still fit in most of my clothes. I still worked 10-hour shifts at the desk, and no one noticed. That was the most terrifying part. One afternoon, in the middle of organizing appointment folders, I felt something like a flutter inside me, like a butterfly trapped in a jar. I froze. I thought it was gas. I convinced myself it was. The first time I went to a pharmacy to buy a pregnancy test, I threw it in the trash before using it. I didn't want to know. Knowing would make it real, and reality was something I had no time for. My best friend Ava started to suspect. She'd ask little things. "Have you lost weight? Are you okay? You seem pale." I'd laugh it off. Just tired. What she didn't know was that every night I lay in bed, hands over my stomach, trying to feel nothing. But there was something, someone. And still, I told no one. I didn't go to a doctor. I didn't take vitamins. I didn't prepare. By the 7th month, my panic was constant. I stopped undressing in front of mirrors. I avoided eye contact. I refused invitations. I wrapped myself in oversized sweaters. Even when it was warm, people didn't notice. How could they not? But it was easier than you'd think to disappear in a city where no one looks too closely. I worked until the 8th month. I'd waddle home, secretly hating every man who passed by, every woman holding a baby, every friend who posted pregnancy announcements with smiling ultrasound photos and captioned love hearts. I felt nothing but shame. I wasn't excited. I wasn't ready. I wasn't worthy. And still, I told no one, until the night I collapsed on my bathroom floor. I was 38 weeks. I know that now. Back then, I thought I was dying. It started with sharp cramps. I thought it was food poisoning. I dragged myself into the bathtub, hoping the water would calm my body. Instead, I found myself sobbing, alone, in the flickering light of my cheap rental. And then, it happened. The flutter became a fist. The tightness became a scream. And suddenly, my secret could no longer be hidden. The scream that escaped my throat wasn't loud. It wasn't the kind you hear in the movies. No dramatic howling. No crowd outside the door. No one banging to get in. It was muffled, choked, desperate. Because I didn't want anyone to hear. It was past midnight. The world outside my tiny apartment was asleep. Inside, I was curled on the cold bathroom tiles, clutching my belly, sweating and shaking, trying to breathe through the pain. My phone lay inches away, untouched. I could have called for help. But how do you explain hiding a pregnancy for 9 months to an ambulance driver? I had made it this far alone. I had no plan, no baby clothes, no crib, not even a name. But I had shame, buckets of it. Shame that chained my hands from calling 112. Shame that convinced me I deserved to go through this in silence. The contractions came fast. I tried to remember what little I'd seen in documentaries or read online. Push with the pain, one voice in my head said. Don't scream too loud, said another. I was crying silently when my baby was born. A warm, wet rush, then silence. I looked down. My baby lay on a towel, tiny, purple, and terrifyingly still. No crying, no movement. For 3 full seconds, I thought I had killed her. Then a sound, soft, gurgled, escaped her lips. She moved. A cry? Not loud, but real. Alive. I wrapped her in the towel with shaking hands. Her body felt impossibly small. Her skin was warm. And just like that, I was a mother, alone, broken, scared out of my mind. But a mother, nonetheless. I sat there on the floor for over an hour. I didn't know what to do. I'd lost some blood, probably too much. My body felt numb. My head was spinning. But I couldn't stop looking at her. She looked like me. Dark hair, pursed lips, so tiny, so defenseless. And then came the thought I had tried to suppress for months. What now? Around 4 a.m., I finally called someone. Not Eva, not my parents. I called a helpline, a confidential one I had found weeks ago, but never dared to use. The woman on the other end asked calm, clear questions. She sent an ambulance. She told me I did the right thing. I wanted to believe her. At the hospital, everything blurred. Doctors, nurses, lights, machines. I remember one nurse holding my hand while they cleaned me up. She didn't ask many questions, just one. Do you want to keep her? I said, I don't know. And I didn't. They kept me for 3 nights. Social services visited. A counselor came. Everyone asked questions gently, like I was a fragile ornament that might crack open and spill secrets. They asked why I didn't tell anyone. I said I was scared. They asked why I didn't go to a doctor. I said I thought I'd lose my job. They asked if the father knew. I shook my head. He didn't even return my texts. Ava came to see me on the 2nd day. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just held my hand and whispered, "Why didn't you tell me?" I couldn't answer, because there wasn't a single reason. There were 1,000 small ones. Fear, pride, isolation, denial. They had built up like bricks in a wall I couldn't climb over. The baby, my baby, was healthy. Miraculously so. They kept calling it a miracle, but I didn't feel like a miracle. I felt like a fraud. They named her baby girl on the hospital chart. I hadn't picked a name yet. I was too afraid to claim her. Too afraid that doing so meant accepting everything that came with it. On the 3rd night, I sat in the nursery wing, watching her sleep in a plastic crib. She had her fist curled near her cheek, her eyes closed, her breath soft, and something shifted. I wasn't sure it was love, but it was something fierce, something real. For the first time since she arrived, I whispered, "I'm sorry." Not to the nurses, not to the world, to her. She didn't wake up, but I swear, her hand uncurled. They say a name has power. For the first week, she didn't have one. I told the hospital staff I was still thinking, but the truth was, I was avoiding it, because once I named her, she would become real in a way that terrified me. Not just a baby, my baby. The nurse wrote baby girl Novak on every tag, my last name, scribbled beside hers. It looked so official, so permanent. I stared at it for hours, and then one afternoon, while feeding her, it slipped out of me like it had always been there. Lena, short, soft, familiar. It was my grandmother's name, a woman who raised 3 children during the war, buried a husband, and still had time to make fresh bread every Sunday. A woman who was stronger than life. I didn't feel strong, but maybe my daughter would be. I was released from the hospital with a social worker's visit scheduled, a bag full of donated clothes, and one newborn I still wasn't sure I deserved. The first days at home were the hardest. I barely slept. I cried almost as much as Lena did. I Googled everything, from how to swaddle to how to stop feeling like a failure. As a mother, I kept the TV on for noise, even when I wasn't watching. Silence made the guilt louder. Ava visited often. She brought diapers, casseroles, hope. She held Lena like she was hers. She didn't judge me. She just stayed. I don't think I'll ever forget that. My parents eventually found out. My mother screamed. My father stayed quiet. "How could you not tell us?" she cried. I told her the truth. "Because I thought you'd be disappointed." My mother looked at me like I was a stranger, and then she broke down. "You were scared," she said, finally. I would have been too. That night, she held Lena while I slept for the first time in days. Raising a child with nothing but borrowed help and shaky faith isn't romantic. It's raw. It's ugly. It's 3 a.m. feedings and wondering if you've just ruined both your lives. It's checking her breathing every hour. It's staring at your bank account and wondering how long canned soup can last. But it's also tiny. Hands gripping your thumb. It's her first smile, crooked and real. It's the day she recognizes your face and stops crying just because you're there. Months passed. I started freelancing from home, built a small portfolio, took short courses. My world narrowed to Lena's needs, but it also opened in strange ways. Every baby laugh, every hiccup felt like a celebration. One day Ava asked, "Do you ever regret keeping her?" I didn't answer right away. Regret is a complicated word. I regretted how it happened. The loneliness, the hiding, the fear. But Lena, no, not once. Her first birthday came in spring. We had cupcakes and balloons and secondhand toys wrapped in old newspaper. She tried to walk, fell, laughed, and tried again. And in that messy, beautiful moment, I finally saw myself, not as a failure, but as a mother, a real one, not perfect, not planned, but present. A few months later, I wrote a blog post titled, "I hid my pregnancy for 9 months. Here's what I learned." It went viral, not because it was dramatic, but because it was honest. Thousands of women messaged me, shared their stories. Some were teenagers. Some were married women. Some were scared, just like I had been. And every time, I told them the same thing. You're not broken. You're not alone. You are still worthy of love, especially from yourself. Now Lena is 3. She runs everywhere. She talks too much. She draws on the walls and hides bananas in her toy box. Every time she calls me Mama, I feel a piece of myself heal, and I still have that mirror, the one I used to avoid. But now, when I look into it, I don't see a liar, see a woman who survived, and a mother who chose to try, even when everything inside her screamed to run.